This business is not about being right all the time. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and a couple of days ago I got a comment on one of my videos that can basically be summed up as, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I gotta laugh because, yeah, that might be true. I mean, sometimes when you're in the business of dealing with all this bureaucratic minutia, it's pretty hard to stay on top of everything. And what's more, it is very likely that sooner or later you're going to say or do something that is not exactly correct. And more importantly, you are going to have to be able to clear up that mistake without wasting people's time as you protect your ego. And if you think that I'm kidding, if you think that I'm just talking in the abstract, I want to share a little experience I had when I was about the middle of my time as a colonel. Now, just to be honest, I do not remember what the exact topic was about, but trust me, I clearly remember how it played out. There was some kind of short notice, immediate response required request for information that my staff handled. And this was the kind of question that the answer was going to go straight to the top as fast as it could go. And when I say short suspense, I mean we had about 10 minutes to get this thing answered. So I get the major, who's the subject matter expert on this thing, to pull some data. He pulls some information together, prints it out, and we head off to the 3-star's office. And I so distinctly remember where everybody was standing. I was in the foyer of the 3-star's office. The 3-star is standing right over there, just outside of his office doorway. And meanwhile, the major, he is standing in the hallway, like I can just look over and see him. And I'm saying to him, yada, yada, yada. It's like whatever the data was that the major had pulled so that we could answer the question. And the 3-star, he's like, Roger, got it. And he moves out because he's headed off to the 4-star's office to share whatever it was I just told him. Anyways, the major and I start heading back to our offices, and the major says, I'm going to need to check that. And I look at him. I mean, this is one of the best majors I have ever worked with. I'm like looking at him going, what do you mean you're going to need to check it? And he says, well, I didn't really have time to get all the information. And I say to him, do you mean to tell me that you just gave me information that I gave to that 3-star and it's going to go all the way and we don't know if it's true? And the major looks at me and is like, yeah. So we go back to my office. Well, actually, the major goes back to his cubicle and starts doing whatever he was doing. And I go back to my office and I start pulling information. And it starts to become very clear that whatever I said was not true at all. Now, in the meantime, the high RPM gears of the bureaucracy have been spinning along, and that piece of information that I had shared had not only reached the top of the Pentagon, it had also reached a major command. And let me tell you something, that command knows that the information is incorrect, and so they are coming back, both barrels loaded, looking for blood. It does not take long before I am on the carpet in the 3-star's office. In fact, what he does is he schedules a global secure conference meeting with all the parties involved to determine what's going on here. Oh, what fun. So the major and I, we go through and we figure out exactly what happened. And then we head up to the conference room, we sit down, I'm square on screen and the major is off to the side. Nobody can see him. He never says anything. He's just watching this whole thing play out. So now we're doing the conference and there's chief of staffs and 2-stars and 3-stars and SESs. I think there were like 18 people on this call. And so the 3-star that I originally gave the information to, he kicks the whole thing off and he's like, look, we said this, the command said this, what gives? And before the command can even start making their case, I just jump in and I say, I regret that I have interfered with everybody's time. There is one colonel in the United States Army who spoke too quickly, who was not correct when he spoke, and that colonel is me. The information provided by the command has been vetted, it is correct, and I stand by for your guidance. Now, this is sort of the interpersonal equivalent of, like, you know when an oil well catches on fire and they put it out by using explosives? Well, that's kind of what this was like. But it worked. Everybody calmed down. The VTC wrapped up very quickly, and the operation proceeded in the direction it needed to. And if there was any angst or frustration or bad will towards that colonel who spoke too fast, I never heard anything about it. But so what? What does that mean for you or our relationship? Well, number one, I do these videos and I try to provide the best information that I can. But sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes time passes and policy changes and what was true becomes untrue. Sometimes people like that commenter are right. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Fair enough. But there is a second and important part about this. As you rise in the ranks of bureaucracy and you take on those positions of greater responsibility that everybody keeps talking about, as you rise, the time is coming where you are going to say something that is not 100% right. And I want you to know, well, the expectation isn't that you're 100% perfect all the time. The expectation is that you acknowledge when you've made a mistake and that you don't waste people's time trying to defend your ego. If you're interested in seeing a more comprehensive way to build your credibility by acknowledging that you can't know everything, watch this video.